Hi friends, welcome to YOGATX. I'm so excited to be back here sharing some more yoga poses and flows with you all. Normally before I teach a class, I always like to make it a point and ask students what they're coming into class with. And a lot of times they say they have tight hips, tight hamstrings, and that manifests a lot as low back pain. So this practice will be really helpful for anyone who spends a lot of time sitting, whether you spend your day at a job where you're in a desk, or if you're driving in the car a lot, taking your kids different places. This also works really well as a morning routine to wake up those areas of the body that kind of get locked out when we sleep. So go ahead and favorite this. Maybe you'll use it again tomorrow morning or the morning after. Today we're going to start in a super easy child's pose. So for those of you that haven't practiced yoga with me, or maybe ever, child's pose is where we sit our hips on our heels and we'll start to reach our hands towards the top of the mat. We want to become really relaxed here, so allow the arms to kind of just fall to the mat. The forehead will do the same. Allow the back of the neck to lengthen. The knees can be together, or you can wiggle them apart a little bit if you'd like to dive into a hip stretch already. And as you do this, just focus on releasing the weight of your body to the mat. So not trying to hold any part of your body away from this pose, really melting into it. As you feel the weight of your forehead onto the mat, start to feel the jaw bones dropping towards the mat as well. Maybe you close the eyes here for a couple moments. And gently tug your awareness towards your breath. So just focusing on your subtle inhales and your subtle exhales. Noticing how the thighs press up against the belly and move the breath into the back. You might be able to feel the lower back, the middle back, or the upper back lift as you inhale, as if it was a turtle and its shell growing. And as you exhale, the heart relaxes, the jaw relaxes, and the hips sit a little bit further towards the heels. Start to find a rhythm with your breath, smoothing out any ridges or gaps. Taking really big inhales so that you feel the ribs spread east to west. And really long exhales so that the body can settle down here. Fill the mind up with the sound of your breath. We'll take 2 more rounds here. And gently start to plant the palms into the mat, tuck the toes, and lift the hips up to a tabletop pose. So we'll situate our wrists right underneath our shoulders here and our knees underneath our hips. With the toes tucked, just notice the shape of the spine, and if you feel as though the lower back is dumping towards the mat at all, go ahead and use an inhale to puff up the kidneys. It would look like this. Nice. Keep the belly button drawn towards the lower back to solidify this straight spine shape. We're going to extend that right leg to the back of our mat and gently press through that right heel. You can use the palms to press the front of the mat away from you to dig into this calf stretch. And you can stay here in a static position, or you can kind of push and let go. Starting at the bottom of our legs, we'll start to move up through our hamstrings and eventually through our hips. Nice. So lift that right leg up. We're going to take the right knee behind the left knee. You can untuck the left toes here. We'll draw a line from the back of the knee all the way down towards the ankle. And if this area of your body feels pretty loose already, maybe you just do it once, but if it feels tight, maybe you do it once or twice or 3 times. And giving it love, not being forceful, right? Yoga is about accepting ourselves, not forcing ourselves to be something that we're not. Release the right knee onto the mat. Replace the palms, relax the shoulders, maybe bring a micro bend in the elbows if that helps you ease into this. And again, if you notice the lower back sinking towards the mat, so with an inhale, puff out the kidneys. And send the left foot to the back of the mat. Gently pressing through the heel as you push the front of the mat away from you. Feel free to move in this pose, right? So you're not a static human being. You are a breathing, living being. So move if you need to. Really feeling throughout the calf, and then lifting the left knee up, and on top of the back knee, we'll draw a line from the top of our knee all the way down towards our ankle. Take it slow the first time so you can just notice what you're feeling and where you're feeling it. Maybe once more. And then release the knee down. Draw the belly button towards the lower spine so that you find this straight spine shape, and start to take the hips in little circles or from side to side. Right here, it might be a good idea to close your eyes so you don't think so much about where you're moving in space and more about what you're feeling. See if you can find an area along the hips or along the side body that could use a little stretch. Organically move into that area. Don't worry about what you look like. And gently we'll tuck the toes and send the hips up and back for our first downward facing dog. Since this is most likely our first downward facing dog, we'll keep our knees bent a lot so that we're just focusing on sending the hips up towards the ceiling. A lot of times when we come to yoga or come to a downward facing dog with already tight hamstrings and we straighten our legs, it causes our lower back to round to compensate for the tight hamstrings. So let's keep the knees bent. And again, just move in this pose. Feel it out, test it out, see what it feels like today. You can begin to bend and straighten opposite knees, pedaling out the legs. Bring your awareness back towards your breath and see if you can use the breath help you deepen the stretch. Nice, one more round of bending and straightening opposite knees. Really pressing down through the heels. We'll come to a neutral downward facing dog. You can straighten the legs a little bit more here. Still keeping a micro bend in the knees. Release the chin towards the chest. Spread the fingertips out super wide and take 3 breaths here. Feeling the ribs spread east to west. One more breath. With an inhale, take the gaze to the top of the mat. As you exhale, walk the feet forward. Keep the knees bent so much that you'll find yourself in a bent knee forward fold. We're going to bend the knees so much that our chest actually makes contact with our thighs. So even if that means that your knees are at a 90-degree angle right now, go ahead and let that happen for yourself. From here, we're going to release the weight of the head towards the mat. You can leave the hands here, or if it feels nice, you can always bring opposite hands to opposite elbows. And again, notice how the thighs are pressing up onto the chest. See if you can feel your inhales in your upper back. Nice. Bringing our hands to our shins and then bringing them up on top of our knees will help ourselves come all the way up to standing. And bring the hands alongside the hips. A micro bend in the knees helps keep the hamstrings soft. We'll spread the toes out wide here for some stability in the lower body. And as you inhale, squeeze the shoulder blades together, send the heart forward. Exhale, round the spine, bend the knees, find a fold. Try to bring your nose towards your knees. Nice. With an inhale, we'll halfway lift. So just lifting up halfway, the knees can still be bent, the spine is lengthened. And gently plant both hands on the mat. So we're gonna slide the left foot back to the back of the mat. So we're gonna find this nice little stance where our right knee is over our right ankle. And if for some reason that knee is way in front of your ankle, what I like to do is just take a big step back with the left leg. From here, we'll drop the left knee down. You can keep the toes tucked here for some balance. Spread the right toes wide and pushing through the right foot, inhale, lift up. As you exhale, dive a little bit deeper into the hips, dropping them down through the center line of the body. Notice what you're working with today. This is a really good starting point to know how tight are my hips or my hamstrings today, and every day it varies. So again, here you don't have to come into the pose and just sit here. You can move up and down, bring some buoyancy into it. You can always leverage how much you want to stretch in this pose by the amount of pressure in your right foot. So the more you push into the right foot, the more it backs the hips away. And the less weight in the right foot, the deeper you can go into the stretch. Bringing both hands around the right foot. Take a deep breath. And gently straighten the right knee. We'll shift our hips back towards our left heel. Take a moment to walk the hands back towards the hips with the torso. The right toes will pop off the mat and come towards your forehead. If you have blocks, this would be an awesome opportunity to use blocks and lift you up. Otherwise, think about keeping the spine as straight as you can. Sometimes when we round the back, the stretch comes from our lower back instead of from our hamstrings. So really try to keep that back straight. I know it's tough. This is a tough pose. It's not very inviting, I should say, the first or second time we do it, but it does so much for us. Keep pulling those toes back towards your forehead. Nice. With an inhale, lunge forward into that low lunge we were just here. Keep the back left toes tucked. We're going to lift the left knee and take a little step in with our left foot. With the hands around the right foot, start to straighten the right leg a little bit for pyramid pose. You can still keep a micro bend in the right knee. That's normal, that's totally natural. But start thinking about pulling the right hip back and sending the left hip forward. You should feel a huge stretch in the belly of your thighs. Stay with the breath. Take really deep inhales and really long exhales. It helps us so much. Taking a slight bend in that right knee. We'll step the left foot forward. Another forward fold right here. Release the nose toward your knees, keeping the knees bent, chest on your thighs. If you can, release the tops of the hands towards the mat and the crown of the head down towards the ground. Close the eyes for a moment. And just notice the difference in between your legs. Keeping the knees bent, inhale, lift up halfway, lengthen the spine, reach the crown of the head forward. As you exhale, send the right foot to the back of the mat. Getting the left knee over our left ankle. Again, you might have to step back a little bit further with the right foot to find that alignment. We'll release the right knee down. Keeping the toes tucked. Press through the left toes, inhale, lift up. And right away, just notice what you're feeling without labeling it good or bad. See if you can just notice, stay present, and then gently guide yourself back to the breath. And you can bring some buoyancy into the pose, just like last time on the other side. And And as you exhale, think about gently guiding the belly button towards the spine. It really does a lot to lengthen that psoas muscle right in our hip flexor. One more breath here. Exhale, both hands around the left foot. Keeping those right toes tucked, we'll send the hips back towards our right heel. The left toes will pop off the mat and come towards your forehead, like you're actively flexing the foot. Again, walking the hands back as much as you need to. The further you walk them back, the higher you'll be able to sit up the chest, meaning the spine will be a little bit straighter and we won't be pulling so much from our low back, but rather the belly of our hamstrings. And it's totally natural for this side to be different. But see if you can just appreciate it where it's at. Thank yourself for coming to the mat. And don't worry about comparing it to the other side, because this has its own set of issues in the tissues that we're working on. With an inhale, bend the left knee, take a lunge forward. Plant both hands around the left foot. Tuck the back toes if they've come untucked. Lift the right knee. Take a little step in with the right foot and send the hips back to pyramid pose where both legs are straight. And again, just because we mean both legs are straight doesn't mean that you can't have that little micro bend in your knee. So take that if you need to. Notice where your hips are at in space. And if you feel as though the right hip is way farther back than the left, think about drawing the left hip back and pulling the right hip forward. And you might have to take another step in to do this. And again, if you have blocks or books or even a chair that you can put your hands on and help you up, it does wonders for your back. One more breath here, stay with it. And bring a deep bend in the left knee. Step the right foot forward. Keep the chest onto the thighs and just lift the sits bones up towards the ceiling. We'll bring our hands in front of our toes and start to walk them all the way over towards the right. So you should feel this stretch coming from the left hip all the way towards the left armpit. Take a deep breath to lengthen the left side of the body. Feel the inhale, spread the rib bones apart. And gently walk the hands back to the center and over onto the left side of your left foot. Again, pull that right hip back to feel the stretch from the hip all the way to the armpit. Take a big deep breath in. Feel the right side of the body grow. And then gently come all the way back to center. Bring the hands on top of the knees. Gently walk the hands up towards the hips, lifting yourself up to standing. Release the hands alongside the hips and take a moment to just check in with the body. Check in with the breath. Check in with the mind. Where has it gone? Can it come back here? We're going to start to dig a little bit deeper into the hips. So spreading the right toes wide, we're going to step the left foot back so that each foot has its own road that it's standing on. So we're not in a one-track stance. We have two different alleyways that our feet are going in. This helps a lot with our hips, keeping them squared, and also not pulling from our back knee. So lift the left heel up, and we're gonna seal the left heel down so that the left foot is leaning out about 45 degrees. We're gonna come into a warrior two. So find a nice stance for yourself where you feel as though you can open the hips up to a wall and then spread the arms wide. That bend in the right knee will be as much as you want it. Just make sure it's not completely surpassing the ankle. And you can flip the hands upwards if it's too much on your shoulders here. Take a look down at the right knee and think about driving it in the direction of your pinky toe. This will really give you the idea of how it feels to externally rotate that hip. Pressing through that back knife edge of the left foot, we'll gently take our right elbow to our right knee. This might deepen the lunge here. With an inhale, sweep the left arm up and alongside the left ear. We'll take our gaze down towards our right foot to protect our neck. And again, check in with the breath. Can you breathe easy and free here? If you find that your breath is being halted or compromised, lessen the pose and find a shape where you can be challenged but still relaxed. Nice. From here, we're gonna straighten the right leg. We'll bring the right hand on top of our shin, knee, or thigh, depending on what's most comfortable for you. We're gonna reach the left hand up as if we're stacking our shoulders on top of one another. I like to visualize that I'm stuck in between two buildings, trying to squeeze my body as tight as I can. Right here is a really good opportunity to pull the belly button towards the spine so that your back doesn't arch and send the hips back. Really squeeze it all in between those two buildings. Release both hands around the right foot. We'll take a bend in the right knee. Keeping our hips super low, we'll take both hands in front or on the inside of our right foot and pivot our feet to the back of the mat. Setting up for our warrior two on the left side, make sure that right foot is spread out a ways from the left foot, so it's in its own track ways, not in one road. Spreading the left toes out wide. With an inhale, windmill the arms open, warrior two. And each pose might take some fidgeting to get comfortable in. Oftentimes you don't just hop into a pose and we're like, yes, it's like, well, this needs to be tweaked, this needs to be moved. So take any little organic movements that your body wants to fit into, because these poses are not one pose fits all. Everything looks different on every body, everything feels different on each body. Feel the left knee driving in the direction of your pinky toe, really opening up that hip. Come to the breath, make sure it's easy and soft and accessible. We'll gently release the left elbow on the left knee. Make sure you're not dumping all of the weight on here, so there's a little bit of core action to help you lift up. With an inhale, right arm reaches alongside your ear. Gaze comes down towards the mat. One more breath here. Begin to lengthen the left leg. Release the left hand either on the shin, the knee, or the thigh. And as you inhale, reach the right arm up. Stacking the shoulder blades. Lifting the gaze if you'd like, but you can always keep it down if it's too much on your neck. And then again, think about squeezing yourself in between those two buildings. So pulling the belly button towards the spine. Sewing the rib cage in. Exhale, both hands around the left foot. Bend the right knee. We're going to take it all the way over back to the front of the mat. From here, we'll bring our hand on the inside of the right foot and step the left foot on the outside of our left hand. So we come into this wide-footed stance, almost at the width of our mat, but it'll change for everyone. Start to sit the tailbone down. The toes will go in the same direction of your knees in this Malasana squat pose. And for our first moments here, we can just rock from side to side, warming up the hips a little bit. This pose is different for everyone. So if you have really tight hips, you might feel it in your shins. Other people's heels lift up off the mat, which is totally normal. It's just a matter of what your anatomy looks like from the inside. So don't get discouraged. Bring both hands towards your heart. Wiggle the outsides of the arms onto the insides of the knees. And with an inhale, use the pressure in between the palms to lift the sternum up a little bit higher towards the ceiling. One more breath here. Nice, release the hands down. Sit the hips up. Walk the feet together and come into a forward fold. Release the crown of the head towards the mat. Bend the knees as much as you need to. Plant both hands on the mat. Step the left leg back. Release the left knee down. With an inhale, lift the torso up. Press into the right hip and just start to lean over towards the right. You can take the left arm up alongside the ear, or you can stay here with the arm down if that challenges your balance a little bit too much. You should feel this coming from the psoas, lifting up into the hip and the torso. Inhale to lift back up. Exhale, plant the hands. Tuck the left toes. Bring the left foot forward. We'll reach the right leg back now, lower the right knee. With an inhale, sit the chest up. As you exhale, press into the left hip, reach the torso over to the left. Again, you can reach the right arm alongside the right ear if that works for you, but if that challenges your balance, go ahead and just bring it along downside the body. Beautiful. Inhale, lift back up. We'll come all the way down to seated. So bring the right foot forward and then sit the hips down. Extend the legs out. If you have a blanket or a bolster or maybe even a towel, feel free to put it underneath the knees. Otherwise, take a micro bend in the knees if you need to. With an inhale, sit the chest up as tall as you can. And as you exhale, focus on reaching the heart towards the toes so that we keep the spine lengthened. A lot of times when we reach for our toes, it causes our back to round. And again, then this stretch originates from our back and not our hamstrings. We're really focused on the hamstrings now, so let's straighten the spine, not worry about if we can touch our toes or not, and just release the hands alongside our legs. The chin can fall to the chest. Come back to the breath. The breath works so well in each one of these poses. If you carry a deep breath in and out of each pose, you can really feel the benefits of it. Every inhale makes space in your body, and each exhale settles you into that space that you make. It's a beautiful rhythm that we can take charge of at any time. With an inhale, start to lift the chest up. Take a bend in both knees. We'll travel to our back. Bringing our back onto the mat. And get comfortable here, scooting your collarbones away from your ears, relaxing your stomach, closing the eyes, and giving yourself a moment to find your breath. And the rest of this class can be done with eyes closed, so if you'd like to do that, I invite you to do so. Gently lift the right leg up and place the right ankle on the left knee. The right leg will come out into a figure 4 shape. You can stay here if this is where your body finds the most comfort. Or if you need a little bit more, feel free to either walk the foot in or bring both hands behind the left thigh. If you're bringing both hands behind the left thigh to pull it into your chest, think about relaxing any forcefulness, making this pose more about surrender. Because in yoga, the less you do is actually better. Whenever we come into these poses, we really want to make sure that our body can be completely relaxed so that our muscles get the idea that they can unwind. If we come into a pose really forceful, our body clenches up and holds more stress. Nice. Gently release the clasp hands around the back of the left thigh if you're still holding on. we're gonna cross our right knee over our left knee. So as if you were sitting in a chair, snuggle the knees really close up next to each other, and then reach for the knees with the hands, pulling them into the chest. And relax the neck, relax the shoulder blades, the collarbones, and the face. If you need a little bit more, you can always reach for the feet. You should be feeling this stretch on the outside of the right hip. And really digging into that piriformis muscle, where our piriformis nerve lives. It actually is right in our muscle. So when that muscle gets tight, it pinches that nerve and sends some pain down our thighs. So just taking a moment to clear that up, combing out any muscles that have little knots or tangles in them. And gently release both feet back to the mat. And notice the difference between your legs. And then gently lift the left leg up, stacking the left ankle on top of the right knee. This side might be different, so come to it with a blank slate, right? So we're not expecting anything from this side that we got from the other side. Maybe you stay here, walk the right foot in. And it's always a possibility that you bring both hands around the back of the right thigh. This is such a helpful stretch. You can even do this in your desk if you work a desk job. Relaxing the mind and continually bringing it back to the breath. So our little message sender, our breath, to our muscles. When it's deep and long and calm, our muscles are also calm and long. And when it's short and tense, our muscles tend to do the same, shorten and tense up. One more deep breath here. Relax both feet to the mat. Take a moment, and then as you're ready, we'll stack the left knee on top of the right. Crossing our legs super close to one another. Gently, gently bring the thighs into the chest, wrapping the hands around the knees. And depending on where your body's at today, you can always reach for the feet. But don't force anything to happen. Maybe just do something radical and thank and love the body for exactly where it is today. In a society that makes money off of our insecurities, self-love is seriously the most radical thing that you could do for yourself. Gently release the hands from the feet or the knees. Allow the feet to fall to the mat. And gently extend the legs long onto the mat. And find this space where you can breathe with yourself in silence. So really make yourself comfortable so that you can do this. You might want to starfish if that's your jam. You might be able to pull the shoulder blades onto your back, popping the sternum up a little bit. Makes it easier to breathe. And as you're in this pose, just thank your body for offering this experience to you. Our body does so many things for us, and it's just waiting to be praised and worked with. The moment we tap into our breath, we initiate that conversation between us and our bodies. So keep filling the belly up with that big, big breath, massaging the organs, relaxing the spine and the mind. We'll stay here for a couple moments to fully let our body integrate all the poses that we introduced. Noticing where the mind wanders and then gently guiding it back to the breath. See if you can soften the body a little bit more, relaxing the hips and the hamstrings, the knees and the calves, and the chest and the shoulders and the neck. You can stay here for as long as you'd like. If you'd like a longer Shavasana or final relaxation, feel free to just stay there. Otherwise, begin to wiggle your fingertips, move the toes. Maybe you sway the head from side to side. Gently pull one leg into the chest, and then the other. Pull the knees really tightly in, pull the forehead up to the knees. Give yourself one big yogi hug, thanking yourself for practicing. And then gently roll over into a fetal position. Keeping the eyes closed or with a soft gaze, gently press into your hands to lift yourself up to seated. Relaxing the hands at the knees. Sit the crown of the head up so that it reaches towards the ceiling and it's just hovering over your hips. Bring the hands towards your heart, palms touching. And know that no matter the way, no matter the obstacle, no matter the tight muscle, no matter the sporadic mind, the light and love in me honors the light and love within each of you. Namaste, yogis. Thank you so much for taking some time to give yourself some self-love today. It's so important. If you liked this practice, feel free to favorite it and do it again tomorrow morning. Maybe do it for 3 or 4 days in a row and see what changes. See if some low back pain eases up or if your legs just feel a little bit more free. It's super important that we take time for ourselves each day, so don't be afraid to do so. If you enjoy these types of practices that I'm offering, feel free to stay tuned. I'm planning on sharing some hour-long classes for those of you that would enjoy a full class that long. And again, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate y'all having me here. Next time. And the inside of our right thigh. You can even scooch and you can widen the ankle. Even if you just want to bring the left heel into the left hip flexor, that works as well. From here, we're gonna plant our left hand behind our left hip. Maybe it's behind the left thigh, right? It's different for everyone. As you inhale, reach up through the right fingertips, and as you exhale, bend the